Hey, everybody. This is your host, Lakita Long, and we are super duper excited to be coming to all of you on our Mental Monday program talk show that we have every single Monday because you guys help to make it happen. And we're so grateful for the audience that chimes in every week. And for those of you who do the playbacks, we're so excited that you join us every single week. Listen, this is not easy work. I'm very passionate about it, but it is interesting information. It is sensitive stuff. It is stuff that people do not want to deal with. So I'm just so excited that you guys would chime in every single Monday for those of you who are able to, and to just let us know that you guys have some love for us. We're just excited about the opportunity for you guys to do that. And we're hoping that it is providing like great powerful information. I've heard from you guys, and you guys have said it is definitely helping you guys. And so let me just go ahead and give my wonderful shout outs to everybody. I see some folks chiming in. Hey, Dr. Ezrian Jackson, God bless you. And we are praying for you as you go on to the East Coast to do some extraordinary work in ministry capabilities. And so we're just so excited for you, and the Wake Global Outreach team will be praying much for you. And so we're just excited for this Mental Monday. All things mental, all things spiritual is something that I'm profoundly about because I grew up in a not so healthy environment. And a lot of the dysfunction that I grew up in was in my own head, but a lot of it was surrounding me and my environment. So we're just excited that we get a chance to come to you this Monday to talk about some various topics that are going to help us. And so we're going to give some folks a few more moments, and then we're going to get right into our wonderful topic for the day. And we're going to make sure that we are able to reach everyone, and we have done everything that we need to do in order to be prepared for today. And we're excited. So if you have any questions, make sure that you put the questions inside of the box for the comment area, because I do answer every single question. And I do also respond to every person that jumps on, because that's the least that I could do, that you would take out your time on a Monday to hear us talk about these various issues. And so I see a couple people saying that they are trying to get on. Okay. All right. So we're not going to prolong the time. We're going to go right ahead and get right started with our topic for the day. So those of you that are just joining, my name is Lakita Long. I'm a marketplace evangelist. I consider myself to also be a social therapist, if you will. I'm also a person that believes that in order for us to get healed, to get whole, to move productively, we have to have certain things in place. And so if our minds are out of whack, if our spirit man is out of whack, if our hearts is heavy and out of whack, then other things in our lives is not going to be in the proper order. Henceforth, we started Mental Mondays actually a couple of years ago in a blog kind of format, and then we moved it to a radio, and then we saw fit to have it where we could do it on Facebook Live, and we're so grateful for that opportunity. So thank you, Facebook, for allowing us to be able to do that. For our topic on today, we're going to talk about getting rid of mental dysfunction, the secrets, the lies, and the struggle. Now, this topic is just really interesting. I've heard from tons of people concerning it. And it's interesting because each of those three elements that I discussed, the secrets, the lies, and the struggle, I actually believe is one of the many reasons why there is such great mental dysfunction. Now, the term mental dysfunction is not necessarily a term that is floating around in the psychological realm in the world of psychology and counseling and stuff like that. But the word that we can interchange dysfunction for when we use the term mental in front of it is mental illness and or mental disorder. And so let's look at this whole definition of what mental illness is. So mental illness is the ability for well, before we go to mental illness, let's look at dysfunction. I like to look at the etymology of a word, which is the study of a word or the breakdown of the word, the prefix and things of that nature. So dysfunction in 1916, it actually meant, the word meant bad, abnormal, difficult. Bad, abnormal, and difficult. That was in 1916. The Greek word for dys, D-Y-S, the Greek word for dys, D-Y-S, means bad, abnormal, difficult, and impaired. Now that's an additional term, impaired, the ability to not be able to functionally move freely because there's something that's impeding your ability to progress. So the etymology of the word dysfunction is bad, abnormal, difficult, and impaired. Mental illness is a condition that affects a person's thinking, feeling, or mood. Such things affects people's ability to relate to others and function on an everyday level. Now, this is really interesting. Each person, though, no matter if I have the same disorder or dysfunction as you, we're going to experience it different because of the base or the foundational place from where we started from, okay? Now, mental health conditions in general are not a result, I want to be very clear, they're not a result of a singular or one event. They are a combination, research show that they are a combination of a multiplicity of different things that are linked to genetic, environment. Hey, Valerie, how you doing? Genetics, environment, lifestyle influence. And those things can all go across the board of things like a job, trauma, stress, you name it. So when you or I have some type of mental dysfunction or mental illness, it is something that has started from the base of where we are. It's the foundational piece. And because there are a host of many different types of dysfunction, I want us to start at a place that for some is just not a comfortable place to start. I want to start with family dysfunction. Family dysfunction involves a unit of people that all have different views about how they see things being said, done, expressed, and or felt. And when you talk about mental dysfunction in a family, we have to look at or mental dysfunction in general, we have to look at the earliest form by which you and I gravitate our experiences from, and that's our family. So if our family had a certain way of how it operated and how it moved and how it was, then we're going to gravitate towards it because that's what we see being modeled. We're going to gravitate from it because it's what's being trained in our brains to do. If we see our mother work, then most likely we as adults, our young people, we're going to want to work. If we see our father work, and if you're a young man, then you're going to have the propensity to want to also work and not just be sitting around because you saw a model of what that looks like. The same is very true. Now watch this. The same is very true for dysfunctional families. Dysfunctional families is considered to be families that have conflict, misbehavior, and oftentimes involves where a child has been neglected and or abused over a certain period of time by parents or those that are their caregivers continuously, regularly, which causes other people to have to tend for those children. So many of us grew up where we might have been latch kids. How you doing, Pastor Santos? We were latch kids and things of that nature. So we had to endure a lot of different things. What tends to happen when we're children and we experience things and we cannot make a differentiation of what we're looking at or experiencing is we start to create our own way of how to process that. I'll give you an example. When a child has been tampered with sexually, it never actually starts just with the touching. It's always an insinuation of verbiage. There is always words that is exchanged before the actuality of the event takes place. When you think about if you have been a person that have been sexually mishandled, molested, raped, there was always something, especially if you were raped by somebody that you knew, there was always some kind of initiation verbally on some level, somewhere. Now, if it's just a pure stranger, that's something different. But we're talking about the family structure being a proponent of dysfunctionality. And I want to show you the spirit in which dysfunction moves in. Dysfunction is like a predator. So it hinges upon what you are not least to expect and or to be looked at or to pay attention to, because you're going on about your day. But when we are children and there is an exchange of a non-regular or a non-right way of conversation between an adult and a child, the adult knows something is wrong. I mean, the child knows something is wrong because they feel it. I know I did. When people would say different things that was sexual and I'm 9 or 10, I felt funny, but what was I to do? I didn't have the tools to deal with it. So what did I do? I kept it within myself and I played that thing in my head. And so that when the opportune came for another predator to come about, see, they know those who they can mess with. So the dysfunction starts at the exchange of verbal communication. All right. I want you to understand this, and which is why what's being said in our families is so important. How we lay out certain things is so important. Our children could have been victims of incest, because incest can happen between any interrelational context between any kind of family member, right? Any kind of brother, sister, father, whatever the case may be. And if there's not the right context in the family to discuss it, then it will go undiscussed, but it will show up in that child's behavior. Oh, yes, it will. So therefore, the mental dysfunction hides behind the secrecy of the act that was done against them. They never speak on it. So when we think about mental dysfunction, I want you to think about the fact that it does center around secrets, lies, and the struggle. And secrets we talked about on another show, but secrets are things that are kept from other people so that the information is never disclosed. But what happens about keeping those secrets, the danger of keeping secrets, is that secrets by itself, now watch this, it creates deception. Secrets creates deception. Prime example, a mother tells her son, don't tell your dad, but I'm going to do X, Y, and Z. Right there, the point of contact between the mother telling the son, don't tell your dad, creates a secret. That secret creates a deception. That deception starts to split the child in half from the reality of being able to be truthful with the father, and therefore creates an internal, watch this, struggle with the mother who wanted him to align with her in the first place. He may somewhat respect the mother, but he's angry at the mother for creating a wall and or an opening for deception against the father. Watch it. So therefore, when the deception occurs, if the child does not know how to disperse of that level of deception, which is found in the secret, then the child starts to create all other kind of ways of how to get around it, creating a fraudulent way to not just deal with the father, but in anger towards the mother, and also frustration outside of the family. That may be a child that gets angry at siblings for no reason. That may be a child that gets upset at the mother for no reason. And the mother just thinks, don't you dare be disrespectful to me. But the mother put the seed of deception in the son by telling the son, don't tell your dad that I've got to go do X, Y, and Z. That is not anything for a child to hold, because we said mental dysfunction begins always at the point of verbal contact. Always, always, always. Hear me. And this is not stuff that's going to be found in our mental health books and our counseling books and things of that nature. This is stuff that God downloaded to me when I was just about 10 or 11 years old. He downloaded these mysteries and gave me volumes and volumes and volumes of journal writings around what causes men and women to go crazy. I was my own first case, because truly I think I was crazy out of my head, right? So what happens is that the secret creates the deception. And then the deception, watch this. Now, this is very powerful. We're not going to get to all of it today. We'll do a part 2. The deception creates a break in the person from reality. Glory to God. The deception of the secret creates a break in reality. And when the deception is not properly fixed, watch this. We're talking about from the mental dysfunction in the family. When it's not fixed and it's the child that we're dealing with, then the child forms in their head an unbiased reality, not against the person that they're holding the secret from, but even from themselves. Glory to God. So what happens is that when the child has to take on this deception that comes from a secret that an adult person has given them through verbal contact, they fight within themselves to have, guess what? The ability to have strong character and integrity. Strong character and integrity things come from the ability to be truthful and the ability to hold your truth from where you stand. But when you are a child and you've been forced to give away your personal power because an adult has coerced you even through slight measures to lie or to deceive or to do something of that nature, automatically that boy or girl begins to formulate another way to operate so that, one, they don't give up the secret. Two, they don't seem like they're not loyal, but now three, they've become disloyal to themselves and unable to be truthful. So the secret of holding something from someone else creates the deception, and it's the deception that splits them from reality. And the split in reality is what creates the mental dysfunction. And or we're using the term dysfunction today interchangeably with disorder or illness. Okay, so when I say dysfunction, I'm talking about illness and or disorder, okay, for today. And so the child then has to force her or himself not to deal with the lie. Now watch this. When lies occur, it fights against the truth so that a person who may indeed have been raped, let's talk about it, molested or incest in the family, we're talking about family dynamics right now, they believe the lie in order to protect the person who did the abuse and or the person who told them the secret. It's the denial that the child keeps running from that causes the lie to become their truth. But because we are spirit beings, watch it. It is very difficult to know the truth of a thing and to hold on to the lie of it, unless you completely cut yourself off from truth. And if you do it long enough, then you become compulsive, narcissistic, and psychotic. Inability to have compassion and to have a bit of connectedness because you have had to hide and not be truthful for so long. So what I want you to think about is the child that now is the adult. Those of you who are adults, go back to the child who's had to keep the secret, fight against the lie, and then lost the truth. And then what happened is once you and I lose the truth of what actually occurred in our lives, then we become victims to the thing that has been hunting us for all of our life. So we see the repetitiveness of a woman, for example, getting with men who are abusive. It's not that she's crazy or that she hasn't woken up. It's because she had believed the dysfunctionality of the lie that was set up for her way back when she was a child. Watch it. So then what happens is the woman is set up for failure in her own spirit until, watch it, she comes up against the very nature of the way in which it initially came into her, which is through that verbal interaction. Now she's got to come back with the verbal interaction for someone who's stronger than her. This is why the Bible, the biblical principles are so powerful when they're used properly. The power of God's word can help to annihilate some of the dysfunction that you or I have dealt with. But if we don't acknowledge that we have that level of secrecy and those levels of lies and deception, then we'll never get to that place. We'll never get to the place of wholeness and being healed, right? So we have the secrets, we have the lies, and I'm just doing a quick run through because we definitely will do a part 2 next week. So much so that the struggle, now watch this. The struggle is the constancy of what has happened to you in your childhood that keeps coming up for you and you still don't have the coping skills to deal. And number two, you're still somehow trapped in the secrecy of holding on to a lie that's causing you great emotional pain. And that cycle keeps you and I rolling on and on and on. And here's the deal that's so scary for those of us that are Christian believers. Watch this. When we come in contact with God, and God is a spirit, so he moves our spirit to let us know that we have an opportunity to accept him as Lord and Savior. Then the Spirit of God comes into our lives, and we find out, whoa, there's something else going on. Whoa, I feel it, I feel it. What happens is the enemy wants you to feel the presence of God. What he never wants you or I to do is to ask that same Holy Spirit from God, can you help me deal with the regression of the lie that I've dealt with the fact that my brother touched me and I am a brother? That he incestually got in my bed because we were all sleeping together. I'm just talking. This is what happens in the church world. And nobody talks about it because we think that it was just a thing. It's never a thing if you know that, oh, he put his hand on my behind, or he stroked my penis, and that's my brother. And you never, ever deal with it like it's going to go away. Guess what? It's always in our subconscious. Woo! Glory to God. It's in your subconscious. That's why sometimes every now and then you may not want to acknowledge it, but you got a little bit of a something for your brother. Or maybe it's a sister that incestually done something to you. You can't quite pinpoint it because you've been in such a struggle all your life and hiding it and going back to a regressive place that you don't want to deal with the fact that, why don't I like my sister? Why don't I like my brother? Because they created a crime against you. Even if it was done to them, they didn't know. They created a crime against you. You became a victim, and then you hid it. And the victimization of hiding it keeps creeping up in your life every single day on some level, to where you can't be the Christian, the overcomer that God says you and I can become. Let me tell you something that I believe is strongly the truth. You know, Oprah Winfrey, she's talked about her weight many times. And she can conquer everything but that weight. And there's research studies that show that people who have major weight issues have been people who have been sexually abused or something of that nature. Now, some people go to the extreme and they work out viciously. But for some people, that's like this thing. There's something going on. And I know because if I don't get in the gym, I'll be 500 pounds. Trust me, I'll be 500 pounds easily because I was sexually abused as well. And so the reality of that information, though, causes us to stop and ask a few extra questions. How are we going to get rid of this mental dysfunction? I feel the presence of God. How are we going to get rid of the mental dysfunction? First of all, I want you to do some things, my wonderful audience. Let's just get truthful. You don't have to broadcast it on Facebook, and don't do this. But let's get truthful about what your baseline looks like. What was it that happened to you that you really haven't gotten free from? What was it that took place in your life that you're really still dealing with, and it's affecting every other relationship? You can't even have a good relationship because you're still holding on to the miserable one that didn't ever happen. You know, I was thinking about both of my parents are deceased because I like to tell them myself. And I miss my dad. My dad was killed when I was 16 years old in a drive-by shooting, 5 days after I turned 16. December the 7th, which ironically happens to be the time in which they bombed Pearl Harbor. And at that time, my father, we had a great relationship. I was a great kid, but he was older. He was an older man. He was 65 years young. And so he did all his parenting with all the children. My mom was his second wife. So the first wife had 5 children. The second wife, my mom, had 7. And I'm number 6. But I always kind of knew something was going on as a child, even as early as 4 or 5 years old. There was something in the air that I could not pinpoint, but my spirit knew something was up. I just would piece things together. I don't know how my brain thought those types of things. And I remember seeing a picture of my sister, who was 15 years old in the picture. And in my spirit, I was just a kid when I saw this picture. When I saw the picture of my sister being 15 years old, in my spirit, I said, she's been molested. And the moment that it came out of my mouth, I don't know why, I saw who her perpetrator was. And it was someone in our family. And it dawned on me, that's why she can't give up the drugs. That was back then. Now my sister is totally off drugs, getting her degree, all of that kind of stuff. And so because of the things that happened to her from someone in the family, and it wasn't just one time, it was constant, the holding of that was so much that she had to turn to drugs to suppress the reality that it actually happened. And she didn't get free until she actually sat down, family members, at her last little drug rehab thing. This was the biggest part she had to do, and she had to tell who it was that sexually abused her. But I already knew it and had known that information for years. Here's what I'm trying to say as it pertains to mental dysfunction. We can get rid of some things because we can deal with some things, acknowledge some things, get some treatment for some things, prevent some things. But the reality is, for some of us, we might have to really fight against the allurement of the seduction of the mental dysfunction that created our family systems. For some of us, you and I, dysfunction actually created our family unit. And that's all we knew. So the dysfunction was our normality until we woke up one day and realized that this normality that we have accustomed for ourselves actually does not work. And then that's when the real split starts to take place. Because we almost have to break rank from family, if you will, to deal with real issues. Because we want to find out, how are you not affected and you abused me for 2 and 3 years? How that happened? How you okay? I know we're supposed to forgive, but this thing is bothering my spirit. And what happens in the Christian families and the churches, we definitely don't talk about it, especially if your family or your father was a pastor. I mean, there's so many hidden secrets and lies and struggles that folks are still trying to get over. And what I'm trying to encourage you, my dear Mental Monday audience, that in order for us to dig, we're going to have to dig starting at the family level, the root level, inside of you. What's the secret that you're still holding that created a lie that was actually a truth and that's causing all kind of havoc and creating a lot of struggle for you? What is that thing? That thing is what you should be going to God in prayer about, is lining it out on a piece of paper, because it affects, like a chess player, every move you make. Every move that you make. I'll give you an example. I would get money from different people in my family and family friends. And if I did great in my schoolwork, I used to get straight A's in school and stuff like that, I would go up to them. And different ones that was considered to be like Uncle somebody, I would say, hey, Uncle so-and-so, I got straight A's. And they said, good. And I would put on a little dog and pony show, right? Watch this. And because I saw that happen, and show them the straight A's, and they would give me money. One day the Lord told me, said, this is why the money exchange for you in situations is not good, because it's almost like a prostitutional exchange. You do something to excite them and they give you some money for it. So it skewed up my mindset. Or an adult man would say, and I was just a kid, 9, maybe 7 or 8 years old, hey, little Lakita, come over here. Sit on my lap. I would sit, yay. And then I would say, hey, this is what I've got going on in my school and blah, 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 blah. I'm a kid. But in the spirit, as a kid, when I would feel something not right, me sitting on the lap, but I would make it all right when he gave the exchange of the money. And then I would put in my head, it's because I'm smart that he gave me the money. But in reality, the Lord let me know some years later, it could because he got off on me sitting on his lap. Let me tell you, and it's sick when it's said in that way. But we've been living this lie and this sick lie for so long that we don't know the truth. And this is why we're mentally dysfunctioned. This is why we have mental disorders. This is why people can't get over certain things, or why depression is their friend, and why anxiety overcomes them, and why they have a little bit of bipolarism, and why schizophrenia is so relevant and so prevalent in the African American community, because there were so many things that caused them to split from the reality of where they are and connecting with where they need to be. So I want to encourage you. It's so powerful. There's so much information. But I just wanted to give you a tidbit for our Mental Monday today. Here's the reality. And then you need to go back and look at your own life. But then you also need to, if you have children, you need to go back and say, what are you doing with your children? What are you saying to your children? What lies have you perpetuated? That ain't the truth. What secrets have you held that if they actually found out would devastate them? What struggle do you have that you haven't talked about, but you see creeping up on your children, and then you making it seem like they just got it? You've been a whore. You was a whore, and I'll say it like this. You had a whoredom spirit prior to, if you're a Christian, coming to Christ. So why not tell your daughter how to be, how to live, how to operate? So instead of seeing the same spirit that you had on you develop into a whole host of demonic pleasure. You've got to cut the thing off from the head so that the mental dysfunction doesn't become the very essence of your life. Now, I hope that you got something out of our Mental Monday today. It was heavy, and there's so much more to go, but I think I'm going to stop here today. Oh, it's a great time to stop here today, because I'm endeavoring. I'm going to help some people, and I'm going to help the people I love the most, and that's anybody that's willing to hear what I believe God is saying, what I've learned, what I've experienced. But I know how to help you because I've had to help myself first. I've had to help Lakita first. So I know how to help, and all the thousands of people and the thousands of hours that I've had to help other people. Here's the real reality. Your mental dysfunction is only going to move away from you when you make the decision that it's time. I had to really get a hold of how I moved, because my energy is infectious. So I had to make sure that my energy didn't say something else different from what I wanted it to say. So I had to learn how to rein in my energy. Whatever it is for you, rein it in, and deal with the dysfunctionality that you have. Remember, though, all dysfunction starts from a verbal exchange. I just believe it. I really believe it. The fact that if your dad talked dirty to you and it was your dad and you didn't think nothing of it, then it was going to be easy for men to talk dirty to you, and there'd be nothing of it until you come smack dab in the face of biblical principles and a consciousness that says there's something better about your life and you don't have to go out that way. So I encourage you. I feel so passionate about this. I encourage you in the name of the Lord and in the consciousness of being woke from the dysfunction that you still have going on. If you need the help, reach out to someone that can help you. Be willing to invest in yourself for it. Don't go another year, month with the same dysfunction. I'll leave this thought with you. The other day I was thinking about some things. I'm doing this radical life-changing thing. Let me show you my muscles. Can you see my arms? They're getting stronger. You see that? They're getting stronger, y'all. I am so excited, and my waist is getting snatched in. I decided I was going to transform my body like I never transformed it before. And the other day, this thought came to me. It said that the moment that you make a decision to be powerful, you are powerful. The choice that you and I have in our lives is the most powerful thing that we got going for our life. When you make a choice to be something and you have the audacity to get up and go do it, you're there, right there. So when you make the decision, I want to get rid of this mental dysfunction, take one chunk at a time, but deal with it and get over it bit by bit through a reality-based, conscious level that allows you to grow. and be your best self. I pray that I've been able to help you. I hope that you share this with other folks concerning this Mental Monday. It is serious, serious, serious. I am praying for you guys. And please pray for our project that we're doing. I'm so grateful for the Mental Health in the Church project. We're trying to reach out to 100 churches all across the United States. We reached out to about 25 pastors in the last week and a half, and we've heard from maybe about 10 or 12, and we're grateful for those 10 or 12 that will allow us to come to their church. And if you want more information, I can send you the information packet on what we're doing for mental health in the church. I'd like to give a wonderful shout out to Lady Breland, who is allowing me to come to their, her and their bishop, come to their convocation on next week, I believe, or the week after, in Southern California, my hometown, and I'll get a chance to interact with all of those pastors and bishops everywhere. I'm grateful to my pastor and Bishop Marcus Burns at Bethlehem Temple, who is allowing us to do the Mental Health in the Church Symposium at our church. So stay tuned. Make sure you send your leaders to that conference. It is definitely a must for all pastors. Definitely a must for all pastors to be at that Mental Health in the Church Symposium. It is a game changer. I'm telling you, it is a game changer. I will send you the packet information. It is a game changer. And you want us to be there. We just want to help folks and help me help people. This is what I'm called to do. And then we'll be taking all the information from the 100 churches and creating a research project, which I've already started, and submitting that information to the National Institute of Mental Health to get funding to go around and then train churches everywhere how to become mental health spiritual first responders, which is a term that I have trademarked and a terminology that I created to help spiritual people become mental health first responders using biblical principles, the spirit of discernment, but also to understand a little bit more about mental health. So if you could help me in this endeavor, I would so greatly appreciate it and love you in advance for it. My heart is that you be whole, healthy, spiritually, emotionally, and you do it in real time. God bless you, bless you, bless you. And have a fantastic day. God bless you. Bye-bye.